Yo, yo. See if everything is working here. All right. Here again to take your questions, objections, all of that. If you are a non-Christian about Christianity. And so happy to talk about the evidence. And again, not to be a broken record, but the topics would be resurrection. Did Jesus claim to be God? The Apostle Paul, was he a true apostle? Was he a liar? Was he crazy? Modern miracles and messianic prophecy. It seems like StreamYard made some updates. This banner is now ginormous. I cannot leave that up without covering my chinny chin chin. So I don't know what we're going to have to do about that, but boom, skibbity. Yes, Wes is here. Hi, Testify. I really look forward to this. I looked into two main miracles you brought up, and I'm prepared to talk to you about what I found. Well, Wes, if you're here, feel free to request it up. Be interested to hear what you found. Good conversation the other day. Prove me wrong. What a scam. He never gets proved wrong. How is that my fault? I don't know. I mean, Christianity is falsifiable. That's the thing. It makes historical claims that can be falsified. And so, yeah, man, just let me know. I'm not a precept. I don't just assume Christianity is true and then therefore say anything contrary is just wrong. So, well, what's your evidence against it? I really want Testify to talk about the INC church. I don't know much about them other than they're basically like the Filipino version of Jehovah's Witnesses, kind of, sort of, at least that they're Arians. So I've made a bunch of videos attacking Arianism, so that would kind of do that. Schmubby LOL, indeed. Yo, sup, Testify. Koopa's always here. Appreciate you, Koopa. Probably can't join today, but looking forward to the stream. Oh, man. That is sad. Sad. I had a good conversation last time, Koopa. That was good stuff. So please know that you're welcome to come back anytime. Testify is the goat. There's only one goat, and that is the lamb. Love you, man. I love you too, random citizen. StreamYard, what is the deal? These graphics are ginormous. Again, I don't know if this is an update or what. I don't like it. Don't like it. How's your day? It is going okay. I slept a long time last night, which is not normal. I'll go after Wes because I found some stuff on Bruce Van Natta. What stuff? Let me know. Join up. Seemed a lot of people were getting angry in the comments about that. And so, like, these guys are just scamming y'all or something. Like Bruce Van Natta is lying or something. I don't know. It's weird. Even if you pick apart one, the only problem is that if it's like a bad case, then I won't use it. I've personally talked to Bruce. He's been on the show. I don't think that he's lying about what happened. And so, but if you don't like the Van Natta case of a miraculous healing, then I don't know, go after something else. Go after Marlene Kleppies or, some of the other ones that I talk about. Let's see, who's the other ones that I talk about? I should know this off the top of my head. Like I said, I slept a long time last night, and I'm still kind of waking up. And so go after Greg Spencer. What's wrong with the case of Greg Spencer? I mean, he's got before and after medical documentation of his healing. So what's wrong there? I think the strongest one for a miraculous healing is Barbara Comiskey Snyder. What are people going to say against Barbara? Even Matthew Adelstein, who's got a blog. I could pull it up here. Let's see if I can find it. He was a atheist. Now he's just like a theist. He has a really good article on Barbara. Let's see if I can pull it up here. Let's talk about Barbara for a little bit. Okay, so the case of Barbara Snyder, might as well just mention it a little bit. This is one that's been discussed by Craig Keener, my friend Caleb Jackson. There was published in the news. I mean, here's clippings of a news article about Barbara, multiple articles. When she was 15, she developed multiple sclerosis. Her condition was confirmed both by her symptoms and by a spinal tap. She spent 3/4 of her life in the hospital between the ages of 15 and 33. MS often goes into remission for brief periods, but in Snyder's case, it would persistently get worse. Her doctor described she would go through a crisis and then stabilize on a plateau that was lower than her last remission, but she never improved. She had deterioration in her respiratory system and paralysis of her diaphragm, leading to repeat hospitalizations for pneumonia and asthma. This led in 1972 to the total collapse of her lung. Her other lung was largely paralyzed. She needed a tracheotomy to even breathe. She wasn't able to swallow. She was fed through a feeding tube. She was with a nurse constantly, even at her home. Her body had become warped. This is Craig Keener's quote. In her words, she was wrapped up like a pretzel. Her feet were pointed down, unable to rest flat against the floor. Even if someone tried to stand her up, her arms remained tight against her chest. Normally, when anyone tried to pull one of her arms away, it would automatically clamp back against her chest. Her hands curled up against the inside of her wrists, leaving them full of dead skin, except when periodically someone would pry them open to clean them out. Her muscles deteriorated completely. She wasn't able to move in a wheelchair because of the severity of her condition. She became incontinent, so basically she had problems with bathroom function. Her vision became almost non-functional. Her gastrointestinal system was entirely destroyed. One of the medical records summaries describes it as complete gastrointestinal paralysis with prolapsing rectum corrected by surgery, complete malfunction of the intestinal tract, necessitating the ileostomy. This is her doctor. She was one of the most hopelessly ill patients I ever saw. She was diagnosed at the Mayo Clinic as having MS. She had been admitted to the local hospital 7 times in the first year. Each time she was expected to die. One diaphragm was completely paralyzed, so the lung was not functional. The other working less than 50%. She had a tracheotomy tube in her neck for breathing, always requiring oxygen. Could speak only in short sentences, and she became breathless. Her abdomen was swollen grotesquely because of her muscles of her intestines didn't work, nor would her bladder function. She was not able to walk in 7 years. Her hand and her arm movements were poorly coordinated. She was blind except for 2 small areas in each eye. She was in the Mayo Clinic. Anyways, for those of you who don't know the story, Pentecost Sunday, June 7th of 1981, she was visited by 2 friends from the church. Someone had called in a prayer request about her to the local Christian radio show, WMB1. Now 450 letters came to her in care of her church. Her friends were reading the letters to her. She claimed she heard a booming voice saying, "My child, get up and walk." She immediately declared that God told her to get up and walk and requested her family urgently. Before she could wait for them, she did get up and walk, something she'd been able to do for years. She said that all of her symptoms are gone. She said she could see. She was shocked that she looked down and she could see her feet. Not only that, but her feet were flat on the ground before, her feet were dropped. She could breathe. She could walk and function normally. Here is a medical record from one of her doctors. I could quote it if you want, but this is it right here. The quote is right here. I could go on and on. Looks like we do have a guest. And so, what do you guys say about that one? I'd be curious about that one because this doesn't, any kind of naturalistic explanation, I don't think is going to work. So anyway, we'll see if you guys come up. There's a couple of you saying you want to talk about it from the last stream. So I'd be curious to what y'all have to say. Viva Swan, am I getting that right? You're muted right now, but you are on.
Yeah, I am Viva Swan.
All right. So what's up, man?
Yeah, it's good. So I'm an atheist.
I can tell by the PFP, bro.
Yeah, so um, it's I think mainly due to the problem of evil, but there are certainly many other aspects. Like I don't believe in free will.
You don't believe in what?
Free will.
Feeble? Say again.
Free will.
I don't know what that means. What is that? Am I just maybe I'm mishearing you? Let me turn my volume up.
I'm actually saying free will.
Free will. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, free will.
But yet you chose to come up. No, I'm just kidding. It's that's terrible. It's a joke. It's a joke. Um, okay. So mostly because of the problem of evil, you're an atheist
Yeah, and also because I don't believe in free will.
because you don't believe in free will. Well, Calvinists don't believe in free will, and yet they're Christians. Or some Calvinists, maybe they believe in like compatibilism or something like that. So you don't have to believe in free will in order to be a Christian.
So I don't think compatibilism is quite persuasive. I mean, if we were to say that compatibilism just says that if you don't have any external coercion, then you're free, then I do think that there is external coercion. For example, there is so determinism basically has this idea that you're under the causal chain that goes back, and so if I were to have this scenario, for example, I was walking on a road and then a bus came in front of me suddenly and I jumped off the road. Now, I have to ask myself whether that jumping was really, my free will or not. And so I don't think it was ultimately my will. So I think that, I'm not completely free in that situation. The ultimate reason was the bus itself. So similarly, I think that when we trace back the causal chain, it will surely go back when I was not even born. So I think there is an external coercion surely.
Okay. So what's at the end of that chain?
So there are two possibilities. I think it will go infinitely back, or it just ends in randomness. Um, I do think that neither of them will satisfy the existence of anything.
Okay. So when you say finitely back, like everything, every cause goes finitely back somewhere, right?
Yeah,
Okay. So what goes back to the first cause? What's the first cause?
I don't think there is any first cause. I think it goes infinitely back.
It goes infinitely back?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, honestly, bro, my field is less with metaphysics and more on history. And so
So my so basically my concern with free will basically was that the structure of Christianity or any Abrahamic or any religion that I might know basically needs free will, right? It needs moral responsibility to be there. And so because I'm not persuaded about the existence of free will, I don't think that there is any kind of true moral authority or true moral I think responsibility with any person, because ultimately they are not in control. So I don't think that any religion that has this as its center, that you will have your moral responsibility. So I don't think any of this religion is true.
so Muslims also
Yeah,
many
yeah.
Muslims reject free will. Many Christians reject free will. So again, I don't really get into these kind of aspects of with philosophy and stuff like that because I think ultimately the historical questions are more interesting. I prefer to deal with things that are more concrete, more tangible. And so, if you want to talk about the resurrection, or did Jesus claim to be God, or was Paul an apostle, or
Yeah, so
modern
Jesus
miracles,
claiming
or
to be God is also interesting, right? Jesus claiming to be God is also interesting. I have went through the new. I think not the New Testament as a whole, but I think I've went through the Gospels. But I'm not sure whether excluding the Gospel of John, uh, it is very clear if Jesus actually claims to be God. accept those indirect claims.
Sure. So if he's talking to a Jewish audience and he's making indirect claims and he's not immediately like trying to get himself killed, I don't think there's anything really wrong with him speaking somewhat in riddles and different things like that. And it's only in a couple places in the Gospel of John does he really speak like that directly about it. There is a place in Mark's Gospel where I think Jesus is very, very clear that he's claiming to be God. I could show that to you if you want.
So, are you talking about him forgiving the people?
Nope. Although I think that's an okay one, but that's not him directly claiming to be God. That's just him indirectly doing one of the deeds of God. I guess they're in the sense that he calls himself the Son of Man and saying that he has authority to forgive sins. And so here, let me show you real quick.
I think there was. I would like to hear the answer from you. There was a debate with Muhammad Hijab, with David Wood and Muhammad Hijab. So there was a question. I think he quoted a lot of Old Testament verses, and he said that in Old Testament God says that he is not a man, he is not a son of man, he knows everything, and Jesus kind of claims everything that is opposite. He is man, he is the son of man, and he even doesn't know the hour of coming and everything like those things. So
When
I'm
God,
not quite.
when God says, "I'm not a man," He says that I'm not a man that I should have regret, or I'm not a man that I should lie. He's not saying that he can't become a man. He's just saying that I'm not like you guys. I don't make decisions that I later regret, or I don't lie. He's not saying that he can't become a man. So that's actually like really, really weak.
Oh, so it means that he's saying that he has the power too, but he says that he intrinsically, as a matter of property, he is not a man.
He's not saying as a matter of property, I am not a man. I can't. He's not saying I can't become a man. He's just saying I don't have the characteristics, the character of a man, in the sense that
Oh,
I'm not a liar because I'm God. It's
yeah.
impossible for me to lie, or I don't have regret, and so when I make a decision, I don't like. That's the decision,
And
right?
how do
He's
you?
contrasting sinful man to himself. He's not saying I cannot become a man, because that would contradict other passages in the Old Testament where
Yeah,
God does say
yeah.
that he will become a man or does become a man.
Um, how do you reconcile the Trinity? I mean, one God but three persons.
I reconcile it because that's what the Bible teaches. The Bible teaches that Jesus is God, that the Father is God, and that the Holy Spirit is God.
So,
But the Bible also teaches that there is one God. And so all of like the creeds that like would define orthodoxy are just rooted in the teaching of the Bible.
because as anyone who will come from an outer side, he will see this as a contradiction, rather, where if you say that three people in this Bible are claiming to be God, but it also says that there is only one God. So yes, from a Christian perspective, it would be quite persuasive that anyone will try to reconcile both of these, but any outer one will just see these as contradictory. That Bible says that there is one God, but
Would
there
it
are three
be
persons who are claiming to be.
paradoxical or would it be contradictory?
It would be contradictory, yeah.
How would it be contradictory if there's one essence, but there are three
Um,
persons who are God? So if there's one essence that is God, but there are three persons who are God, that's not a contradiction. That might be paradoxical, but if the one essence is God and there are three persons who are God, that's not an actual logical contradiction.
it can
If you
be.
said there were
For
if you
example,
said there were three essences, then that would be a
I mean,
contradiction. But we're not saying that.
if,
We're not.
when we are saying that Jesus is completely God, Father is completely God, Father is not Jesus, or Jesus is not the Father, aren't we just committing to that there are they are distinct you know uh,
We're saying they're distinct
personalities?
persons, but they are one essence. And so it's not a contradiction. Again, it might be paradoxical. But if
So
well, hold on, let me finish real quick. If we are God, or if we are not God, and God is infinitely more intelligent than we are, then we would expect there to be possible paradoxes within God, that because there's a great distance between us and him in terms of his
Yeah.
wisdom, his knowledge, his intelligence. And so when you get into things like, well, the problem of evil or free will or different things like that, I don't think there's any contradictions in any of those things. There could be paradoxical things about some of those things or things that we just don't fully understand. But I would expect that if God was beyond me in intelligence, then he would know better. Like if you read, going back to the problem of evil for a second, Job was a victim of great suffering, right? And yet when he was confronted by God at the end of it, God basically asked him a bunch of questions that he had no answer to whatsoever, because it was far beyond his wisdom, far beyond the scope of his knowledge, far beyond the scope of his understanding. And then he realized, wait, I'm just dust and ashes. Like, what am I to say? And I'm not trying to push skeptical theism to the extreme, excuse me. But what I am saying is that there's some great epistemic moral distance between us. And so the reason why I personally am more interested in the concrete is because what can I show from history? What can I show from, other areas that we can actually like observe in time and in space, in the sense of like, we can go back, we can investigate, we can research. That's what I'm more interested to, because my understanding of what God can or cannot do or can and cannot be is going to be completely contradicted when like there's evidence. And so, for example, like my understanding, I could be walking in the woods, okay, and I come up against a dilapidated cabin. It just looks like completely uninhabited. It's old, it's run down. It looks like nobody's lived in there for years. But if I walk inside of it and I see a cup of tea steeping that's hot on the table, it doesn't matter what I think the prior probability of anybody living in that cabin was. Once I go inside, I see, oh, well, there's a sign of somebody being here, because there's a hot cup of steeping tea there. And so that updates kind of the evidence. And so what I'm saying is you could think, oh, well, problem of evil, I don't know how to reconcile that. Free will, I don't know how to reconcile that. The Trinity, I don't really necessarily know how to reconcile that. Christians have talked about all of these things for 2,000 years, and I think that there are some good answers. But ultimately, like when confronted with, say, a miracle or something like that, then you have to kind of go, well, maybe something about the way that I look at this stuff metaphysically is just wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of very resistant to believe the resurrection of Jesus Christ, but when I read that a few people were literally killed to claim that Jesus was a God, so it really is a difficult thing for me to understand of how people. Even so, if I were to say that the resurrection was fake, then it's really surprising how people can die for fake beliefs. So I think it is a very good argument that these people are insanely right. So that's well one. So I just wanted to ask you, what is like, if you see the entire context of the Bible or anything that is with respect to that verse, which is the best verse that you would let me understand that Jesus clearly claimed to be God?
That clearly came to be God. There's a number of different verses. I wish I could just give you one. I'll give you one that I talked about in a recent video real quick. Let me make the font size a little bigger here. And so this is Jesus on trial before the high priest. This is him about to be crucified. And they ask him plainly, this is the high priest. He says, "Are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed?" And Jesus said, "I am. Then you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power." Now you might go, Son of Man. He's not claiming to be God there. He's saying he's a man right there. But just give me a second and I'll explain. And he says he'll be coming in the clouds of heaven. And the high priest tore his garments and said, "What further witnesses do we need? You have heard this blasphemy. What is your decision?" They all condemn him deserving of death. So why did they condemn him deserving of death? Why did they say that he blasphemed? All he said was he was the Son of Man. And so in order to know who the Son of Man is, we actually need to go back and we need to look at who the Son of Man is in the Jewish understanding, because he's talking to a Jewish high priest, obviously, right? And so this is Daniel chapter 7. He's having a vision, and in the context, he's having a vision about 5 different kingdoms. Okay. And most we don't have to get too much into the context, but he's talking about the Babylonian kingdom, the Medo-Persians, the Greeks, and probably the Romans, although there's some discrepancy there. And then he talks about a fifth kingdom, which is basically the kingdom of God that comes. And the kingdom of God that comes is a reign that rules forever. Okay. But in 7:13, specifically about this Son of Man, this person who becomes the ruler of the kingdom of God, he says, I saw in the night visions, and behold, in the clouds of heaven, with the clouds of heaven. So again, remember, Jesus mentioned the clouds of heaven. There came one like a son of man. Remember, Jesus said he was the Son of Man. And he came to the Ancient of Days. This is describing the Father, and was presented before him. To him was given dominion and a kingdom, that all peoples, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away. His kingdom is one that will not be destroyed. So let me give you a little bit more context. This is from the book of Daniel itself. I'm just going to pull out my trusty Bible app here. 1 second here. Have you ever read the book of Daniel? Are you familiar with it at all?
No. The best what I've read is the Gospels.
Just the Gospels. Okay. No, that's fine. So in the book of Daniel, basically, they have been taken into Babylonian captivity. Okay. The Jews have, right? And so there are some of the Jews, while they're in captivity, that are basically separated to be like wise men and different things like that. They're part of like another group where they might advise the king about different things and different matters. And so in Daniel chapter 2, for instance, Nebuchadnezzar, the king, has a dream and he wants it interpreted. And he doesn't even tell them what the dream is, but he demands an interpretation. Well, Daniel is able to interpret, and he talks about this kingdom that will last forever, and he talks about Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom and all this other stuff. But then in chapter 3, he talks about, he builds this golden statue, this idol of himself, because kings in those days, as you're probably well aware, they thought that they were divine. They thought they had like godlike powers, right? So notice, going back to this, setting that as kind of a background of what's going on. Notice this word serve him, right? So what's up with that? They're saying that the Son of Man shall be served. And so does that just mean serve like he's an earthly king and we just give him political allegiance, or is that something more? Well, everywhere in the book of Daniel, we see this word serve. It's actually a Aramaic word, palak, and it means serve is like as you would serve somebody who would receive worship, right? And so when these three of Daniel's companions are accused before the king for not worshiping his statue, they say, these men, O king, pay no attention to you. They do not serve or palak your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up, right? Nebuchadnezzar, he gets angry in chapter 3, verse 14. It says that you do not serve, palak, my gods, or worship the golden image that I've set up. So again, you see that? Serve and worship, serve and worship, serve and worship. Okay. He says he's going to throw them in a fiery furnace if they don't worship his God. And he says, his companion says, if this be so, our God who we serve, or palak, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from out of your hand. And then they go on to say in verse 18, O king, we will not, but even if not, even if we burn in that fire, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve, palak, your gods, or worship the golden image that you have set up. And then we see, I'm sure you've probably at least heard of like Daniel and the lion's den, where Daniel refuses to pray to the king. They say that you can't pray for a whole month. Daniel does it anyways. There was a whole law. And then he was thrown into the lion's den. The king regretted the decision he made, but he couldn't like violate his own laws. And then he says, when he's being thrown to the lion's den, may your God, whom you serve, or palak, continually deliver you. So every single use that Daniel uses this word serve, the same word, he applies it to the Son of Man. And so the Son of Man receives worship. He receives that kind of devotion that they would, which is weird if you think about it, because Daniel's a whole book about don't serve these kings, don't serve these false idols, right? But the Son of Man, suddenly that's okay. that only makes sense if the Son of Man is also God, which would explain why the high priest tore their clothes and said, "This is blasphemy. He deserves to die." Now, notice too that the Son of Man's kingdom is an everlasting kingdom which will not pass away. Well, how else is that word used in the book of Daniel? Great are his signs and his mighty wonders. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom. His dominion endures from generation to generation. So who has an everlasting kingdom? This is referring to God, right? At the end of this is Nebuchadnezzar. He's praising the Most High God after a period of time where he went basically mad. It says that he lifted his eyes to heaven. His reason returned to me, and I blessed the Most High and praised and honored him who lives forever. For his dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom endures for generations. So who has this kind of kingdom? It's God. One more time, King Darius says, I made a decree that in all my royal dominion, this is after Daniel was delivered from the lion's den, people are to tremble and fear before the God of Daniel, for he is the living God, enduring forever. His kingdom shall never be destroyed, and his dominion shall have no end. Well, who else has that kind of kingdom, and who has that dominion? The Son of Man. Who does Jesus claim to be? The Son of Man. Why did they say this is blasphemy? Because he was claiming to be somebody who they thought that he wasn't. He was blaspheming by claiming this role, this title. So does that make sense?
That's ridiculously solid, bro. I mean, yeah, of course. It is. I don't understand how people can make such connections, but yeah, it's good. It's insane.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what I would say to you, Vivaswan, I do got some other guests that I would like to bring up, but what I would say is, so if Jesus really said this, then he's either crazy or he's a liar, but he's willing to get himself crucified over this lie, or he's crazy. He's not really the Son of Man, or he is who he says he is. And so regardless of what your metaphysics are about free will or the Trinity or how all that works, here you see in the Old Testament, there's two divine persons right here. Okay.
Yeah.
And so all of that stuff, like you have to contend with this, like who is Jesus, right? And so I just wanted to kind of like leave you with that. And
I mean, if I were to become a Christian, I would be something I found recently, red letter Christian. So it would be like just to have the words of Jesus as authority in the Gospels. So I think that would quite give up a lot of problems, like the Old Testament slavery, genocide, everything like that.
Well,
so I think these red letter Christians would, I think, be most beneficial for me.
Well, if you go to the red letters, Jesus is going to affirm the Old Testament. But there's ways to deal with some of those Old Testament difficulties. So if you want to come back sometime, or we have a resource, it's called talkaboutdoubts.com, where you can get one-on-one, two-on-one private Zoom conversations. We could talk about, Old Testament atrocities or, different things that, why is slavery in the Old Testament, different things like that. And we could talk to you more about that. Just because I have a lot of other people waiting. Sure. I probably can't dig into that in a lot of depth right now, but there's ways to.
Let me know how often do you do this live, so I will come afterwards.
It's the goal is every Tuesday and Friday around this time.
Yeah, sure. So thanks for telling me that. Bye.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate you coming up. All right. See that? He said that. That's it, man. That's powerful. That is powerful. Oh, we got Yahya from Speaker's Corner. What's up, Yahya? Am I saying your name right? I might be saying it wrong. I'm sorry. Your connection's a little rough.
Peace be upon you
and
a little... everybody. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's a little better now. You're kind of breaking up a little bit, like your connection was a little rough. Also, your volume is slightly low. If you could turn that up a little bit.
Wait, give me 1 second. Mute it. I don't know how to bring it up. Hold on. Okay, this is 100%. Anyway,
we could try one.
Anyway, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon you and upon all your viewer. Hopefully you're hearing me well.
We can hear you all right.
Good. to be honest, I come on to talk about the difference between salvation, between the teaching of Jesus and the teaching of Paul, if you like to talk about it. But while you've been talking with your guest, you mentioned you've been talking about God, and God, even according to the Bible, it confirms that there's only one God, and this one God does not change his nature and to become man. So God, he always stays the same. And
According to the Bible?
According to the Bible as well, he is eternal, invisible, and immortal. While all the other creation of God, they are under the circumstances of the living by the Spirit of God.
Okay. Is Jesus the Word?
The Word of God is not eternal, as you can see if we read Genesis 1:1, when God spoke the word, everything come to existence. So before the word is the expression that God willingness to create something, and this is God is eternal with no beginning and no end. But and if you read, as I mentioned, Genesis 1:1 up to 31, you can see that God with his word expression, he is creating the whole world. And Jesus is the word of God, of course, and a spirit of God. The way the spirit of life, which the same spirit which God blew in Adam to make him a living being. So the similarity is that Adam, God created him from clay without a father or without a mother. Then he blew his spirit, he come alive. While Jesus was sent, God sent the angel Gabriel to Mary, the Virgin, and he blew the spirit of life into her, and he told her, this is a word of God, Jesus, the son of Mary. This is
so Jesus is the Word.
I confirm that already.
Yep.
He is a word of God.
Okay. Well, I know as a Muslim you don't accept the Gospels. That's fine. We could talk about that. But our belief would be, and I will share on the screen here. In the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God, so he was with God. He was God, he is the Word. All things were made through him, and not anything made that was made. And so he created all things, and the Word became flesh, and he dwelt among us. And we have seen his glory, the glory of the only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. And then it goes on to say, no one has ever seen God, God the only Son, who is at the Father's side, he has made him known. So we would believe that the Word is God, because that's what it says.
So according to this, I'm going to compare this one with the comparison of Genesis 1:31. And there is two beginning. One of them, it should be false. One of them should be true. And this is actually the biggest lie in the Bible, with due respect, because in the beginning of Genesis, there's no such, the Word was with God, and God was with God, and the Word is God, because God would not create another God to confuse the creation. While let's take in consideration that all the prophets, including Jesus, they teach the Lord our God is one and only one, not with anybody else. And we know that Jesus will sit at the right hand side of God.
Is Isaiah a prophet?
I'm not talking about Isaiah. I know that Isaiah prophet and all the prophet with due due respect. If you want to go to Isaiah to confirm the oneness of God, I'm ready.
Okay.
Do
So
you-
Isaiah's a prophet. Isaiah's a prophet, correct?
Of course, of course.
Okay. So Isaiah says this is about the Messiah. Almost all Jewish interpreters would agree. For to us a child is born, a son is given, the government shall be on his shoulder, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. And the increase of his government and peace will there be no end, and the throne of David over his kingdom, to establish and to uphold it with justice and with righteousness from this time and forevermore. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this. So who is the child called? Is he called Mighty God?
So let's accept this and go to Isaiah 45, verse number 5, please.
Sure. No, that's fine. We can do that. I am the Lord, there is no other. Besides me, there is no God. I equip you, and you do not know me.
Okay, let's come back and consider Jesus at the right-hand side of the Mighty One.
Okay.
Is he God alongside the Mighty One according to this verse?
According to this verse?
Yeah.
Yes, if Jesus is God, there's nobody besides him. And so
No, here, okay. So we need, I'm going to give you another 2 verses for
Sure.
Isaiah.
Yeah.
Isaiah, yeah, and then let's think logically and see where's the truth, because we need to use our mind as the Bible teach. We need to love our God with all our strength, or our soul, or our mind, and all our Isaiah 46, verse number 9, please.
Yeah, sure. Remember the former things of old, for I am God and there is no other. I am God and there is none like me.
What does it tell us this? It tells us that there's none of the creation, including Jesus, is like God.
Why would it not include Jesus if he already called him Mighty God in verse 9:6?
I tell you why. Because Jesus, the human Jesus, he is like me and you. He need to eat, he need to drink, he need to sleep, he goes weary, he goes tired. While God is none like that. He is all powerful, all seeing, all knowing. I'm going to give you another verse.
Okay.
Actually, 2-3 verses, because this is, by the way, what we are talking about here. We need to be sincere with ourselves before we are sincere with anybody else, because we are talking about God. And on the day of a judgment, God will ask us about this, and we need to be truthful in front of him, because this is depend on our salvation for the hereafter.
Amen, brother.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
What's your verse?
Yes, give me 1 second.
No,
Isaiah 40, verse 28.
Sure. Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator. It seems like that's what John said about Jesus. Of the ends of the earth, he does not grow faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable.
Okay, the question is, does Jesus grow weary, get tired, or not? Did he change or not?
In the human nature or the divine nature?
When we are speaking about Jesus, we are talking about the human nature.
His human nature?
Yeah, we are talking about the human nature.
He had 2 natures.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
So
I would like you now.
The human nature got tired. The human nature got hungry.
Exactly. I would like you now to go to something very interesting. Timothy 6, 15, 16. Timothy 6, 15, 16.
Yep, I know where you're going.
Yeah.
All right, so I have verses for you after this. So, but yeah,
No
I'll
problem.
read it. Sure. Which he will display, he who is blessed and only sovereign, King of kings and Lord of lords, who alone has immortality, dwells in impenetrable light. No one has ever seen or can see. To him be eternal honor and eternal dominion. Amen.
Who we are talking about, the Father of the Son here?
He's talking about the Father. And who did Paul think the Son was? Who wrote this?
Who wrote this?
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know, but this,
According to church tradition, who wrote this?
Regardless, this is describing the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, who alone is immortal and live in approachable light, who no one has seen or can see. Be honor and might forever. Let me. There's a few verses. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to give you the reference, and then we will compare it to the nature of Jesus, the nature of a human Jesus.
Well, I mean, I've let you give me several. So
fair enough.
Let's go back to Isaiah, since you started there.
Before you go to Isaiah, I would like you to note it down. You don't have to go for it because it all carries the same meaning.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. No, it carries the same meaning. So as going back, a child is born, a son is given, the government shall be on his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God. The increase of his government and peace will be no end. The throne of David over his kingdom to establish it and uphold it, and justice with righteousness from this time and forevermore. So here, a child is born who will be called Mighty God. So apparently, this person was part of the Godhead from forever, since you said that there can't be another God. But there's more in Isaiah. There's actually quite a bit more. Let's see. Let's look at Isaiah 53, or actually 52. I'm sure you're familiar with the suffering servant, right? Yeah, are you there?
I'm listening.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we believe that this verse is about Jesus. It certainly can't be about Israel, as some rabbis would try to say. It says, behold, my servant shall act wisely. He shall be high and lifted up and exalted. High and lifted up and exalted. The servant, who's exalted? Is it the servant? Is that correct? High and lifted up?
I disagree about exalted because...
Well, it says right there, he shall be exalted.
Fair enough. But
okay. So
I have.
Let me.
When we are talking about servant, we're talking about servant. Right. Let's say we are talking about Jesus.
Okay, I have a point though, so I gotta.
Please
let me get to my point. So in Isaiah, who is high and lifted up? He says here it's the servant, but who is normally high and lifted up in Isaiah?
We know.
Hold on, let me finish. I'm sorry. It was hypothetical. I apologize. That's my fault.
I thought you're asking me.
Yeah. No, you're good, man. You're good. I appreciate you, bro. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord upon the throne, high and lifted up, and the train of his robe filled the temple. So the same language that Isaiah applies to the Lord is high and lifted up. He applies to the servant. And lest you think that this is like something that Isaiah slips up on, he says, thus says the one who is high and lifted up, he's talking about God, who inhabits eternity, whose name is holy. I dwell in a high and holy place, and also with him who is of a contrite and lowly spirit, to revive the spirit of the lowly and revive the heart of the contrite. And then, just bear with me, I got a couple more verses. Since you gave me your verses, I'll give you some of mine here. Just a second. And then let's look at Isaiah 33, 5 through 10. Wow. Let's see. Looking at my notes, and it started posting all kinds of stuff. The Lord is exalted. He dwells on high. He will fill Zion with justice and righteousness. Now I'll arise. Now I will lift myself up. Now I will be exalted. Okay. And then we'll look at 2:11. So we're talking about who is exalted. Who is exalted? It's only the Lord. The haughty man looks on a man who shall be brought low. The lofty man shall be humbled. The Lord alone will be exalted in that day. And he repeats it again in verse 17. The haughtiness of man shall be humbled. The lofty of pride shall be brought low. The Lord alone shall be exalted in that day. Well, who else is exalted if it's not the Lord alone? He says only the Lord will be exalted. But in Isaiah 52, he says that the servant shall be high and lifted up and shall be exalted. So every single time that Isaiah uses this language, he applies it to Yahweh. He applies it to God. He applies it to the Father. But yet here he says that the servant shall be high and lifted up and shall be exalted. He already talked about, he already talked. Let me just finish real quick, then I'll let you jump in. I'll take 30 seconds, if that.
Okay.
But he also said a son will be given whose name shall be mighty God. And so this to me says that the servant is also the son who is also high and lifted up, who shall be exalted because he is mighty God.
I will confirm what you're saying, because as a hereafter, God will glorify all those who abide and live by his commandment and this life. And we know that Jesus, peace upon him, address that the Father is the only true God, and he cannot be God alongside God, because as I said and confirm, that all the prophet and messenger came with one message for all human race. The Lord our God is one, and cannot be two God or three God next to each other or alongside the mighty one. And this is why when we are talking about God, God's nature, for example, in Malachi 3:6, and Hebrew 1:12, and Habakkuk 1:12, and Psalm 1:02, 27:27, all of them confirm the nature of God Almighty stays the same. It does not change. While Jesus himself, he doesn't have life in himself, while the Father have life in himself, and he give life. And Jesus say, I can do nothing of my own. And the word I'm saying is not my own. It's the Father who sent me. And we know the mission of Jesus Christ. He was sent to the lost sheep of Israel, the lost sheep of Israel who abandoned and stray away from the commandment and the law of Moses. And Jesus' mission confirms that, as when he talked to his apostle and disciples, he commands them not to go among Gentiles and Samaritans, rather go to the lost sheep of Israel only. When only after the 3 years and after the resurrection, according to the Bible, Jesus said to the disciple, go and baptize in the name of the Father, but not the Son and the Holy Spirit, because Jesus teach the Lord our God is one and cannot baptize people in the name of Trinity, because all the Jew, as a Muslim, we believe that our God is only one God, one Lord. And this is the confusion created by the Trinity, which is, as I'm trying to make it as easy as much from your own Bible, because the concept of God and the declaration of God to Moses, that the Lord is one Lord. Okay. And Jesus, just one moment. When Jesus said, I am with the Father are one, he as well mentioned that he will pray to the Father to accept the disciple as a believer to be one with him as a father. So while there's only one God, there's no other God alongside, because the disciple cannot and believer cannot be God, because we are. Why you nod in your head like this?
No,
I'm not singing.
Well, because you jumping, you're shuffling a little bit. So you wanted to go to Isaiah.
To be honest,
you wanted to go to Isaiah. So I went to Isaiah, and I said that there was a son who will be called Mighty God, and then I went to Isaiah 52.
Yeah.
And I showed you multiple verses in Isaiah where it says that only the Father is, or excuse me, that the Lord alone will be exalted. The Lord alone will be exalted.
Yeah.
He's high and lifted up. He's high and
Yeah.
lifted up. He's exalted. Yet the servant in Isaiah.
Let me answer you.
The servant in Isaiah 52 is the one who is exalted. He's the one who's lifted up. So there's already a child who could be called God, and now there's a servant who is exalted like God. And so you said that you're talking about what's in line with the prophets. I'm giving you the prophets, and so I'm going to have to move on. And so, who is high and lifted up in Isaiah 52?
I agree with you that all the believer who obey God and live by His commandment will be exalted as a hereafter, and will be honored by God and His presence. And
where does Isaiah say that the people who follow God will be high and exalted and lifted up? And why, again, you're ignoring the fact that a son is called Mighty God?
Why I'm ignoring the Mighty God? Because it contradicts what I have given you according to Isaiah.
So is Isaiah contradicting himself?
Yeah, because in Isaiah 44, verse number 6, the Lord Almighty, I am the first and the last. Apart from me, there is no God.
So is Isaiah contradicting himself?
Let me tell you something. If God bringing another God to humanity, there will be two gods. And this is a go
no,
against.
There's just one essence, but there's three persons in the Trinity. That's just so. But it's again, this is in Isaiah. So you said Isaiah is contradicting himself? Is that what you said?
According what you read for me, if I compare the verses you give me with due respect from Isaiah, and I compare it with this, I'm going to mention it quick. Isaiah 40:28, Isaiah 44:6.
So why is
Let me finish.
No, I know the verses. You gave me the verses. They were good verses. I like the verses.
We are not only, I guess there's plenty of people interested in knowing this, and they might note it down and compare it. So please give me the space, and I will not interrupt you.
Stay in Isaiah.
Yeah, Isaiah 45, verse number 5. Isaiah 46, verse number 9. All those confirm there's only one God, there's only one Lord, there's none like God. And our Quran confirm what Isaiah say about 46, verse number 9, and chapter 112, that our God is one God, and He doesn't beget or begotten, and He is one absolute God, and that's it.
Okay, so when Isaiah says in 9:6 when Isaiah says in 9:6 that a child will be born who will be called Mighty God, and then he talks about the servant who takes the sins of the world, that everyone, we've all gone astray as sheep, but the Lord will lay the iniquity of us all on him. And he calls this servant, he says that he will be high and exalted, he will be lifted up. And he says that the Lord alone will be exalted over and over and over like a beating drum. And so what I'm saying is like, you said Isaiah is contradicting himself. So is Isaiah contradicting himself? Why is Isaiah contradicting himself?
Because you know the Bible is collection of books and collection of.
Are you saying the Bible is corrupt?
Just let me. You ask me a question. I'm trying to.
Sure.
Yeah,
I apologize. I don't mean to be rude at all.
You know, I respect your approach, and you know, according to John 5:26, the Father have life
Whoa,
in
whoa, whoa,
himself.
whoa, whoa,
And
whoa,
as
whoa.
you
Well,
said,
no. Hold on.
okay,
Go back.
you want me to stay in
Stay in
Isaiah?
Isaiah. Yeah, we're
Okay,
staying in Isaiah.
okay. According to Isaiah, there is none like God, and God cannot bring another God. So, because even Jesus himself, during his life, we all know that God, Jesus, obey, submit, glorify, praise, and fall on his face and worship God. So if he is God, why
And
he
is
need to
exalted
worship the Father? And John,
because
you
he
don't
become a
want me
man.
to go to John 17:3, where Jesus exactly address who is the only true God, and that means he is not God along the Father,
Okay.
but he
So
was sent by God.
let's talk about that real quick, and then I'll yeah. Thank you for coming up, brother. I appreciate it. I'm gonna have you can come back anytime, but if you're gonna pull John 17:3 on me, I will at least address that. And so, just to real quickly recap about Isaiah, he said that there will be a son. Well, Islam, God can't have a son, but there will be a son, and he will be called Mighty God. You're going to have to say that Isaiah is corrupted, but we have the Isaiah scroll. We have the Dead Sea Scrolls. Isaiah is fully intact. We have other scrolls. It has not been interpolated or all this other stuff. We have the scroll. It has been very preserved, Isaiah especially. If you want to run to John 17:3, where Jesus says, this is John who is writing this, right? John the apostle is writing this.
I accept.
Yeah. So Jude, this is Jude, and then I'll go back to John for just a second. Jude says, for certain people crept in unnoticed who were long ago designated for this condemnation, and godly people who pervert the grace of God into sensuality and deny our only master and Lord Jesus Christ. So if Jesus is saying that only God is the only true God to the exclusion of himself, then are you saying Jude is saying that Jesus Christ is the only master and Lord to the exclusion of the Father?
No.
Okay, well, that doesn't make any sense. And so he must mean something else. And then this is the same. This is the hold on. Let me finish the point. Yeah, let me finish the point, bro. Let me finish the point. Appreciate it. And it says, and we know this is John, the same guy who wrote. This is First John, the same guy who wrote John. And we know the Son of God has come and given us an understanding so that we may know him who is true. We are in him who is true. In his Son, Jesus Christ, he is the true God and eternal life. So is John, again, just like you had for your argument to work, you said Isaiah had to be contradicting himself. Now we have John, you would have to say he is contradicting himself. Jude talks in a way where he's not excluding. Obviously, he believes that the Father is also the only true God or the only true Master and Lord. It's just the way that they're speaking. It's they have the Trinitarian framework probably already likely in mind, because otherwise you have Jude, who is allegedly the brother of James, who is the brother of Jesus, contradicting John, who's an apostle of Jesus. Like it doesn't make sense, man. It doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. And so I'll let you have the final word, bro, and then I'm gonna have to move on to the next guest.
When we talk about sons of God, there is plenty. David is son of God, Jesus son of God. A lot of the Bible say sons of God, and sons of God, it means that those people who obey and worship God alone. And sons of God is not but metaphorical, not in the sense of physical. And Jesus, as you said, he was born, and a child is born. God cannot be born with due respect. Our God is above any of his creation and like any of his creation. And this is why we say only one God is worthy of worship. And Jesus worships this one God. If you look at the Jew and look at the Muslim, to be honest, we are on the same page, while only the Trinity bring the confusion. And for me, it's a gate to hellfire because it brings nothing but confusion with the due respect. And as I mentioned in John 1:18, no one have ever seen God, but God's the only one and only. So, and Jesus, when he said the only true God, he's talking an exclusive way that the Father is the only true God. And
So is
where
Jude
there's
saying that?
where
Is Jude?
there's
Yeah, sorry, I
wait,
interrupted. I'll let
where
you finish.
there's another gods, those gods are comparing with the true God is false God.
Okay, but Jude says that the only master and Lord Jesus Christ. And so, anyways, all right, yeah, I appreciate you coming up. Good conversation, bro. You're cordial, you're kind, you're a good bro. Come back, maybe we could discuss this more. Hey, I know you want to talk about Paul, so I'd love to talk about Paul with you sometime. That would be a fun
Do
topic.
you like me to come on another time? Maybe next week I can come we talk about.
I'm doing this Tuesday and Friday at 10 o'clock.
Tuesday, the time is not that convenient for me.
Yeah, sure. Or Friday.
Today, Friday, it was good.
Okay.
And I hope you enjoy this conversation.
Yeah.
I wish that, the Quran, as a Muslim, I believe that this is the last revelation from God, and the Quran confirms the truth as the Bible, and correct the mistake as the Bible, which been done by author we don't know. That's why there's too many books and too many author unknown. And
well, we could get into that kind of stuff too.
I wish out of curiosity to open the Quran and try to read it with open heart and open mind for the sake of our Lord God. And thank you very, very much.
Yeah, take care, bro. Thanks for coming up.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you.
Yes, sir. You too. All right. So, yeah, the Quran corrects the Bible by introducing apocryphal legends, apparently. Maybe that's something we could talk about in the future there. But anyways, good stuff there. Appreciate Yahya coming up. Nice guy. And so we'll make room for other guests here. Because we have a few. Where were you guys Tuesday? What's the deal? Tuesday I had one caller. Y'all are lining up today. Cone. They were cones. Man. Never mind. That's a wedding singer reference. Cone, you're on stage, bro. Cone, you there, bro? I heard you tapping on the keys a second ago. Cone. You're going once. Twice. 3 times a lady. All right, Cone. Sorry, bro. I don't know what you're doing. I hear you clicking on your keys, but I don't see you. Yeah, man. The only true God. They like that one. So Jude 4. Is Jesus really the only master and the Lord? And like to the exclusion of the Father? He didn't have an answer for that. We'll try David.
Hey, Testify. I talked to you 2 weeks ago. I'm in the chat. It's Patrick Rose. David's my middle name. But hey, I'm gonna hop out. I need to come back at 12. If you're still on, I'll talk to you if that's cool.
Oh yeah, I might be done by 12, but feel free to try.
Okay, no worries. Yeah. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'll catch you next time. I'll just keep listening.
Sounds good, man. Yep. I am going to boot you off the stage. Well, he said he could come back. I'll leave him for now, unless it gets really full. Let's see. Nubs.
Howdy.
How's it going, sir?
Doing swell. How about yourself?
I'm just keeping it gangster like yourself, bro.
Well, I don't really keep it gangster. I grew up in the hood, and I know what real gangsters are, and I want nothing to do with that.
You want nothing to do with that. I don't
speak of evil if I don't commit evil, you know?
Yeah, no, that's all right. That's just a silly expression. It's just a silly expression. I actually, well, believe it or not, my testimony, I told it a few weeks ago. I joined up with some goofy people from the hood myself. I know you could tell just by looking at me. I look super street.
Well,
but
don't we
anyways,
all?
that was a long time ago. But you're right. It is not something to glorify. I agree. It was garbage. But what are you you're not a Christian, right?
No. I would say, if anything, I'm a agnostic atheist, and what I mean by that is I don't believe in a God, but the agnostic part comes in and says, well, there still could be, and I just don't have all the knowledge. So it's a possibility.
Yeah.
I just don't see any evidence for it.
Any at all? For Christianity, really. or just God?
Oh, definitely not the God of the Bible.
So what don't you think? What do you think about the God of the Bible in terms of evidence?
Well, I would say,
besides there isn't any, like, why specifically?
If there is evidence, it would be evidence on the contrary, as in he's not a good God. So, I mean, he could exist, but he's just not the benevolent one, or, like, it's not the good guy.
He's not the good guy.
And you could start off.
It could be a Marcionite. I'm just
what's
kidding.
that?
You could just be a Marcionite. I'm kidding. Don't do that.
It could be.
That would be just as bad. That'd be worse, honestly.
Hey, it is what it is. No, I just look at things like, for instance, in Genesis, you have the creation story, and at the end of the creation story itself, you have God saying it is good, right?
Yeah.
He called all of what his creation good. Would that be correct?
Indubitably.
Okay. So then you have the Adam and Eve, and Adam's naming all the animals and everything, and not a helpmate could be found. So then, I mean, we could get into the Hebrew and Greek on that one, but just to keep the conversation light, he took the rib and not the half. You get what I'm talking about. I'm assuming, if you're an apologetic. But nevertheless, then you have the introduction of the serpent. And the serpent is described as the most, the most cunning of all the animals.
Okay.
Would that be accurate?
That's what it says.
Okay. I just want to make sure that I'm accurate, because I don't want to misrepresent something.
Well, he's referred to as Nakash, which is a Hebrew word, which kind of throws some sort of red flags, according to Heiser, that it's some kind of weird spiritual being kind of a thing. Yeah.
Well, even with that being said, if the story is true and all things were made good, then where does evil come in? Because even in the story, the serpent did not lie to the woman. In a physical sense, they did not die that day, like the God of the Bible said. Did they?
They died spiritually.
Well, you could say that, but it doesn't say that they died spiritually, unless it's the Hebrew or the Greek.
The writer said that was really stupid, because he obviously would have known, like, they didn't die. So you'd have to, it must be referring to something else, a spiritual death, which would be separation from God, separated from the life of God. So think about what was in the garden.
I was not there, so I can't attest to anything because of Deuteronomy 19:15 and 2 Corinthians 13:1, where you need 2 or 3 firsthand account testimonies to settle a matter. That's an Old Testament and a New Testament reference.
According to the text, what was in the garden?
According to the text, the garden was made perfect.
What trees were there besides the
trees of good and evil?
And what's
because
tree?
God himself created both good and evil. He brags about that later.
What's the other tree?
And then the tree of knowledge.
No, the tree of life.
Or the tree of life?
Yeah, the tree of life.
Can you read the text?
It's in Genesis 3.
My apologies. I didn't mean to just be
Alright.
disregarding.
No, you're all right. You're right.
Well, if you don't know if I'm sitting here, you know, doing
yeah.
something random.
I don't care. You don't have to face, non-face.
It's just a courtesy. It's an attention thing. I'm
Yeah,
giving
yeah.
you my attention.
No, you're good. 3:22. Then the Lord God said, "Behold, man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil. Now lest he
Wait.
reach out and take his hand also of the tree of life." The tree of life.
Okay. So that, did it say we?
Yeah, it says we.
So what's the we?
Well, if you're a Trinitarian, you believe that God is speaking in the plural because he is plural. He's three persons, but one God.
Okay, so that's a Trinitarian reference.
That's well, yeah, I mean, I would think so. But it talks about the tree of life. It also talks about in Genesis 2. So the death, what I'm saying, is a separation from the life. It's separation from the life as God has it, eternal life, the Zoe kind of life. When John talks about the same kind of life, he's drawing reference to it. And he says that in him was life, referring to Jesus, and that life was the light of men. It's like a callback. Remember, Jesus says, "Eat of my flesh."
I understand callbacks, and I understand references to past scriptures. Like I understand how that all works. I actually grew up in the hood, but I was there as one of those great ministers to the hood. So I grew up in the mission field. I grew up in this, and I have a pretty decent understanding. Like I don't mean to look to deceive you. You know, like I've read Philo, I've read Josephus, I've read all these references to Christ, right? Because you have Philo, you have Josephus, you have all of these, and none of them are actually firsthand accounts. So
the Gospels are.
The Gospels are. Why were they dated, or why were they named in the 2nd century? Then, if they're firsthand account, they were titled Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John in the 2nd century by the Catholic Church. Yes.
By the Catholic Church?
Yes.
Okay, what's your evidence for that?
History. Look it up.
Specifically.
I can't show you because I don't have that ability on the screen here.
You're referring to Irenaeus.
Yes.
Yes. He didn't title them that.
Oh, he didn't?
No, he didn't title them.
Interesting.
He just mentions who they were written by in the 2nd century.
And how did he know? Because they're not, like, the earliest fragments don't have any references to whoever wrote them.
We don't have a single scrap of manuscript evidence of an anonymous gospel.
I didn't say that.
Okay, just that's fine.
I definitely did not say that. There's plenty of scraps.
Yeah,
I mean,
but we have
definitely
we have manuscripts too.
Well, manuscripts are just scraps that are copied and added to. I mean, that's, if you look up that word, that's pretty close to a definition. It's not an exact definition, but it is pretty close.
Okay.
And at this time in civilization, mankind was not the avid reader that we are today. So that is a very valid contextual part to this all. You know, people weren't just walking around with books unless they were people of higher status or wealth.
Okay. So
do you disagree with that?
Well, let's go back to Irenaeus, since you're saying he named the Gospels. And so let's talk about him. So this is in Against Heresies. This is written in 180 AD. Against Heresies 3:1 through 1:1 through 2. It says, so Matthew brought out a written gospel among the Jews in their own style when Peter and Paul were preaching at Rome, founding the church. But after their demise, Mark himself, the disciple and recorder of Peter, has also handed on to us in writing what had been proclaimed by Peter. And Luke, the follower of Paul, set forth a book of the gospel, that which was proclaimed by him. Later, John, the disciple of our Lord, who leaned against his chest, also put out a gospel while residing in Ephesus in Asia. So this is the first time where all four are actually mentioned by somebody in 180 AD. But the thing is in Against Heresies 3:3. Well, Irenaeus, let me finish real quick. This is an important point. Irenaeus identifies himself as a student of Polycarp. Polycarp, he says, was in the presence of the Apostle John. So you have you have one link to somebody who knows somebody who was an
You need
apostle.
to.
Okay, two. Excuse me, two. Yeah.
No, you need to. You don't have. You have men's claims, and the reason that it's important is because you said it very well. You said this is the first time that all four of them are named together, because they were not named that prior to that.
They were quoted copiously.
Quoted copiously because it was written down that those were the people. Effectively, you have between 70 and 150 CE. You have the Bible being put together as what we kind of know today. It's very not much the same, but the oldest Bible that is quote unquote put together
Let's stick with the four gospels for just the sake of this argument. Okay.
For the four gospels, I have a couple of direct questions. How many angels were there in the official story?
Wait, whoa. We went from authorship. Now we're jumping to like how many
let's check the validity of the story, because you will know them by their fruits, right? So if they're cohesive and consistent.
How many angels are at the tomb?
Yes.
Does it say that there was two or one and only one in that particular gospel that you're referring to?
There are four gospels, and each one of them should have the correct account, or at least a cohesive account.
Okay.
Correct? I mean, if it's the same story told by four different perspectives of four different people that were with him, so hypothetical situation, you and four of your buddies. And your buddies are telling the story of you.
Yeah. Okay. So you're giving me a Bart Ehrman argument, which is totally fine.
I'm giving you no argument of Bart. My name is not Bart. Man. I'm just having a conversation with you.
No. Bart makes this argument too. We could say that. I'm not saying you're borrowing it from Bart. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Argument. So I've written about this. I'd be happy to talk about it. I'm pulling up my own article. I hope it doesn't seem too self-serving, but it's just easier for me to reference myself. So
I like referring to myself as well. I especially as an atheist, I love to refer to myself. So I'm all about it.
Yourself is the best source, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So this is Bart Ehrman. This is something he said in his debate about the resurrection with William Lane Craig. He said, read one story in Matthew, then the same story in Mark, and compare the two stories and see what you come up with. You come up with major differences. Did they see a man? Did they see two men? Or did they see an angel? It depends on which gospel you read. And so let's look at the text actually in question.
That's always the place to go. Because I don't care what Bart Ehrman has to say. What I care about is specifically, are they cohesive? Yeah. And if they are cohesive, then why is it that there is an argument to the lack of cohesion?
Sure. So I would say that these are very easily reconciled for this particular one. So I'll address this one in particular. So Mark 16, 5-6. And if you want me to pull up the actual references and not just refer to my blog.
Yes, please.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't mean to be a pain, but if I haven't read it just long enough.
I don't want you to just trust me, bro.
I never would. No offense.
No, it's okay. And entering the tomb, they saw a young man.
Who was entering the tomb?
It's talking about the women.
Okay. Which cultural misappropriation, correct?
No, I mean,
no.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It wasn't cultural that women had no say in that time?
Oh, as a witness? You have Josephus. I would lay too much emphasis on this. You have Josephus say that, like,
well, it's also in the book where, and not only that, but the word testimony literally traces back to testicle, because you had to put your testes on the line.
Bruh, you just, I don't know if that's true, but my whole channel name is just hose now. And so entering the tomb, they saw a young man.
Sorry, I mean.
And the right side, you just messed it up forever in my head. At the right side, dressed in a white robe, and they were alarmed. And he said to them, do not be alarmed. You seek Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. He is risen. He's not here. Okay, so one young man at the right side. Doesn't even say an angel. Hints at it, sort of, dressed in a white robe. What's up with that?
Well, then it says they. They said.
Oh, dude, I didn't even put the right screen up. Okay, so we're just going through the verse because you said there's a contradiction here. All right, so Sticks.
No, I did not say there is. I said I believe there is.
Right. Well,
I have
believe
read there is.
Gotcha.
I wasn't there, so I can't know. That's the whole testimony thing. Like, if you're not there, it's all hearsay anyways, in reality.
Well, with testimony, let's back up for just a little bit here. We'll see how this goes. And with testimony, there are 3 explanations. Someone's lying, someone was mistaken, or someone's telling the truth, right? And so what we want to do with any kind of claim, whether it's a miraculous claim or a mundane claim, we want to rule out lies and honest mistakes, correct?
Absolutely. First and foremost, find the lies.
Right. And so you're saying that there's a contradiction, which implies somebody's probably lying here. And so what I'm trying to show is that there is not an actual contradiction. Okay.
Well,
with this particular example,
if I can give you just so you have an understanding of how my mind works, when I hear a grown man say try, I think of food, entertainment, or drink. Everything else men do or we do not. We either put forth effort and work towards a goal, or we don't. So
let's work towards the goal.
If that makes sense.
Let's work towards the goal of harmonizing this alleged contradiction. Okay. Matthew 28:5, same account. But the angel said to the women, so now it's not a young man dressed in white. It's an angel. Do not be afraid, for I know you seek Jesus who was crucified. Right. Okay. So right there, it's like a little bit different. Right. And then you have Luke 24:4.
And who was, wait. Who was the witness to that? Was it also the women?
The women.
And which women? Were the women consistent?
We can get back to the women too.
Fair enough. I just figured while we're looking at it, we can look at all 3 aspects at the same time.
Let's do this one, and then we could talk about the women. And while they were perplexed about this, behold, 2 men too. So you're like, is it 1? Is it 2? Now you see 2 men stood by them in dazzling apparel. Okay. And then John 20. So I'm trying to.
So 1 man to 2 man now. And then in the first, it says they.
1 says 2 angels, and then so
we have somebody not remembering a miraculous angel.
Well, let me finish here.
Okay.
Then Mary stood out. I'm trying to steel man your argument best I can here. And Mary stood outside of the tomb. She was weeping. She stooped to look into the tomb. She saw 2 angels dressed in white, where the body of Jesus had lain, one at his head and one at his feet. They said to her, woman, why are you weeping? He said to them, they have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid him. Okay, so it looks like a major difference. Hold on. Wait,
there's a major difference that is there, because before in the story, it said as they came upon it, they saw in the doorway, and then this account says Mary went into the tomb and saw 2.
It says in Mark 16, it says in entering the tomb. So they did enter the tomb just like in John.
Oh, okay. Yes. But before it says as they were coming to the tomb, they saw them in the doorway.
I don't think that's what it said, but if we could
pull it back up.
Which one?
I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I have no problem being wrong. It's been a while for the Bible, but it was just fresh.
I don't see that. I see entering the tomb they saw, and he said don't be alarmed.
Go back to the next scripture before that.
There it is.
I can't read it.
The angel said to the women, do not be afraid, for I know that you seek Jesus who was crucified.
Okay, so the angel was talking to them outside, so they knew of the angel prior to, because the angel talked to them outside, and then Mary went inside.
It just says that they're standing there.
It's a minor contradiction, but you have to recognize there is not cohesion there.
I wouldn't say that. It just says that there was 2 men stood by them in dazzling apparel. It doesn't even say where they were.
And they missed the other guy in the other account because it was only 1. So you're literally missing an angel of the Lord that's standing before you in dazzling clothes. Well, the description is very, very, like, one of them says white, one of them says dazzling. Okay. That one's not a problem because I understand that an actual white garment back then would have been dazzling.
That doesn't bother you. It would have been understood as an angel. Okay, so we'll skip that. That's fine. We don't have to talk about that.
No, you would not have been understood as an angel.
Okay.
It just you had a new shirt.
Sure. And so, yeah.
Or a death
right.
garment.
Well,
because they were normally new.
There's many times in the Bible where angels appear as men, right? So when Abraham was sitting by the oaks of Mamre, he lifted up his eyes. Behold, 3 men were standing opposite of him.
Nobody flying in the air.
The visitors in the next chapter were actually called angels in Genesis 19:1. So you get that, and we see that throughout the Old Testament. Not a problem there.
Right. Nobody there.
I don't really think that this is that hard to figure out. It's just that wherever 2 angels are, there's always at least one. And so Matthew and Mark are just focusing on the person who spoke. It's that they don't mention the other, but the omission itself doesn't equal the denial. There's not an account that says there was only one.
It doesn't accept denial, though.
Right.
So it's a moot point. It doesn't go to either one of us.
I'm saying that I don't think that it's really difficult to harmonize if one person is just speaking about the person that they were talking. Like if you were at like a job interview and you had 2 supervisors in the interview, okay, and one of them is asking you the questions and pretty much steering the entire conversation, and the other person is just like almost like a witness, and all they're doing is taking notes. And all you talked about in your testimony with, say, your loved one later about your job interview and how it went is you just focus on the one person. That's not a contradiction. You didn't say that there was only one person and only one person. You just didn't mention that there was another person because the other person wasn't speaking to you. It wasn't really relevant to you. So that's how I would harmonize that.
And I understand your harmonization. And my counter to your harmonization would be that here you have how often were the angels spotted? Like was that like an everyday occurrence, or was it like an actual miraculous, like, holy crap, this is straight from God?
Well, the gospel authors
simple one way or the other.
The gospel authors could be aware of multiple angels. They're already mentioning multiple angels and all kinds of
yet
stories.
They failed. I'm just saying much like Philo, who was around during this time, like consistent, like he lived, he's completely silent, just like they're completely silent. And it's 2 different stories. If it was cohesive, there would be 2 and 2 and 2 and 2. It would be all across the boards.
But it's not a contradiction, and you're just
It is a contradiction.
But what you're doing is you're arguing from a silence of one author.
And you're arguing from the voice of 2 authors, and I'm arguing from the silence of 2 authors. So we both have 2 witnesses. So how can we settle the matter?
Because we realize that a weak argument from silence is
no, we don't realize that. A weak silence is one of the most powerful forces in the world.
No, it's not. Here, let me.
Oh, yes, it is.
No, okay. So let me give you a good example from history. Maybe why we can't just like assume silence is like contradiction.
I'm not saying complete silence. I'm saying silence is power.
Okay, so silence is power. Gotcha. So let me ask you this: U.S. Grant, you know who he is, right?
Yes, he was a very quiet man, very humble man.
But who was he?
Who was he?
Yeah, besides
Ulysses S. Grant, he was a major general in the Civil War.
Yeah, exactly, right? And not to mention he became president.
Yeah.
So he wrote a diary about the Civil War. Did he ever mention in it the Emancipation Proclamation?
Well, sir, it wasn't his voice that was being heard. It was a private memoir of his own to himself.
But he never mentions the Emancipation Proclamation, right? So
I do not believe that he did ever mention the Emancipation Proclamation. However, the Emancipation Proclamation was just a speech written. Like that's all it was. It didn't the word emancipation doesn't even mean what you think it does.
Okay, but
and the whole concept, hang on, hold up. The whole concept of the Civil War was not about slavery. It was about states' rights. And there's many proofs of that.
But you would expect him to say something about it, you would think.
No, right? You would not.
Okay. So you don't
if he was not if he was not a proponent of Abraham Lincoln, which I do not believe he was, why would he speak about that'd be like Biden talking about Trump's specific notes of a specific speech.
He was his general.
It doesn't matter. They didn't have to get along.
Okay.
And they did not get along. If you're familiar, like I actually did a lot of history. This is one of my favorite subjects as a child.
Yeah.
Is
Good.
the Civil
That's
War.
cool. Okay.
Because I understood that it wasn't about what they said it was about. Because if there's any advocate for slavery, I would say the best place that you could find a big advocate for slavery, like the rules around slavery, it's Exodus 21. Okay. Specifically verse 7, where it teaches you how to sell your daughters into perpetual slavery.
We're jumping.
Yes, but we are talking about slavery and the Emancipation Proclamation, so it's not a far jump.
We're talking about the argument.
It's just where slavery's concept came from out of your book.
We're talking about the argument from silence. And so Grafton's Chronicles mentions the reign of King John. He never mentions the Magna Carta. In his the biography that Eusebius wrote on Constantine, he never mentions the death of Constantinople's son Crispus and his wife Fausta. Marco Polo explored China. We don't have any record of him talking about the
There's a lot of history that has no record for it. I'll absolutely agree. Well, we didn't even know about Caesars till much later.
You said silence speaks volumes, and yet the silence
it does.
The silence doesn't speak volumes at all.
You're speaking of one aspect of silence.
So Claudius expels the Jews from Rome in 41, and Josephus and Philo never mention it.
You're right.
So silence is not.
Philo was in Alexandria. He was already in one of the main hubs for Judaism.
Josephus covered all kinds of stuff that Rome did.
Josephus was a convert. It's you realize where he was adopted into. He was Flavius Josephus. He played for the other team, sir.
And yet he talks bad about the other team like all the time when it's like Herod.
Yes, because when you have to be able to walk through your neighborhood, you've got to play both sides. Hey, dude, I walked that neighborhood, man.
I don't think we're getting anywhere, bro. So I appreciate.
I don't think we're either, because of the simple fact that you're sitting here saying that you're right and you have no proof. You know, I mean,
I have lots of evidence. I can't really.
Evidence is evidence. Proof is proof.
Okay, well,
evidence would lead you down a path, but what happens when that path is blatantly wrong, sir?
All right, thanks for coming, bro. I appreciate it.
Wow, how much love is that? We're in the middle of a conversation, and you're throwing me out because you don't like where it's going.
No,
love is patient. Love is kind. Love is.
He's still quoting the verse. Actually, I like him. I really do. I like him. We're just not getting anywhere. And I have other people waiting. So I have to love my other guests, and we're not getting anywhere. If I could say, Nubs, if you're listening, Brody, I like you. I don't have a problem with you. I have other guests, and you're jumping all over the place. And then like when I show you that the argument from silence doesn't really work, you're like, well, wait, we would expect silence there. And it's just like, well, how am I supposed to go anywhere with this? And if you say I have no proof, I mean, I'm defending one contradiction, and we're jumping all over the place. We're jumping from here to there. I could give you a lot of positive evidence for why I think the Gospels are reliable. You can watch my videos on that. You could come on back. We could talk about that. I could sit and give you a bunch of positive evidence, but we're just jumping. We're jumping. I gave you half an hour. And love goes to the next guest. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. I have no problem, but it's just like when you see something's just not being fruitful or productive, it's like, what do you do? What do you do? Especially when you like show why the argument from silence is just so faulty. And it's just like, you know, just kind of hand wave it away. And so they were cones, man. We're going to try him again. Cone, are you there? Cone, I'm booting you. You're still clicking on keys. What is?
Oh, yeah, what's up, man?
Oh, hey, he speaks. How's it going, man?
Hey, what's up?
I'm just keeping it as real as the streets.
Hey, let me turn on my camera here.
There you go. So what's up, man? Why aren't you Christian, Cone? Come on.
So the problem I have. Okay, just give me a second.
Yeah, you're fine.
Oh, it's really laggy. So the problem I have with this Christianity stuff is, okay, I personally believe there's a God. I believe there's a God because of the transcendental argument and the contingency argument, but I just find it really hard to believe that there is a Satan or angels.
Okay. So just you don't have a problem with Jesus resurrecting from the dead?
So can you like provide some proof of it?
Of Jesus resurrecting from the dead? What do you mean by proof? Like mathematical proof? Like
No.
just evidence?
No.
Are we translating or?
It's really lagging. This is really laggy.
Oh, it's lagging. Oh, okay.
So
Colin.
I asked for proof about like angels' existence and Satan's existence.
Okay. Proof for angels' existence and Satan's existence? It would just seem to me that like Jesus believed in angels and Jesus believed in Satan, and there's a good reason to think that Jesus claimed to be God, so he would know what he was talking about. And Jesus backed up his claims by being resurrected from the dead. And so I could talk about those kind of arguments as long as there's not a lag. If there's a lag, we might have to have you come back. Can you hear me? I think there's a really bad lag.
So are you using Jesus as a testimony?
I'm using Jesus' testimony. Yeah.
I can.
Is everything all right? I think there's just, yeah.
It's very laggy.
Yeah. Come on back when your internet's working better. I'm sorry, Cone. All right. There were cones, no cones. There's somebody in Greek who has no devices connected, so I don't know what to do with you. Dirk Jensen. I've seen this guy everywhere. I thought Dirk was a Christian. Dirk, are you a Christian?
No, Dirk is not a Christian. I'm not a Christian.
You're the Dirk Jensen?
Yeah. How is it that you know of me?
Dude, your comments are everywhere, like IP and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You always speak in the third person too.
I do, but not on direct voice to when we're doing these because people get really annoyed about that.
Dude, I would love it if you third person me. Can you have you ever seen the Jimmy episode on Seinfeld?
Yeah.
Hands off Jimmy.
Hands off Jimmy.
George is getting upset. George likes spicy chicken. Sorry, we both just outed ourselves as old guys.
So, I know.
All right, man. What's up? How come you're not a Christian?
Well, a lot of things. So I have to start from the beginning. Okay. When it comes to Near Eastern mythology, the oldest thing I could find was the story of Sekhmet. And Sekhmet is the lion-headed goddess that is the Eye of Ra.
Okay.
And originally, this is important, you'll see why. Originally, this comes from the naturalistic association between the hot sun and hungry lions because they don't have enough food during drought. And the lionesses would come and attack the people. And so that's the origin of the angry sun and the lioness who drinks blood.
Okie dokie.
And this is important because this is the only Near Eastern mythology where the goddess drinks blood until she is satiated.
Where are you going with this, bro?
Okay, I think you guys know where I'm going with this. Well, fast forward a few thousand years, and you have Cleopatra. And she declares herself Isis in the flesh. Isis is a direct archetype of the Lady of the Deep.
Okay.
Which is Sekhmet. And that is Ishtara, Isis, and ultimately, even though it's associated with the sun, it becomes the phases of Venus.
Are you a mythicist?
Well, clearly, I'm getting.
Are you a big fan of Myth Vision?
Well, I don't really like him. I mean, I like him personally as a guy. I'm sorry, that wasn't nice to say. I think he's a great guy. I don't know him. I've
Yeah,
never
Derek's a nice
spoken
guy.
to him,
After
but
we
I
talked.
don't agree with all of his claims.
Okay.
Is what I'm trying to say.
So are you trying to say that Christianity is borrowed from a bunch of pagan myths?
What I don't really like the word pagan because pagan is a bit of a slur. It's a bit of a
Okay.
slight.
Well, myths, legends, weird stuff like
What
that.
I'm saying is that there's a direct line between the terrapin, which is a lion-headed carving, which is what Rachel hid and stole in the Bible, and Shechem.
Are you sure
And so
that's what Rachel had?
That is what Rachel had. Yeah, it's a terrapin.
What's the proof of that?
The Bible. The Bible says, "You have stolen my gods," and I think that was Nahor to Rachel.
Okay. So are you saying that Christianity and Judaism basically is just kind of like, I don't know, just kind of just different spins of these same kind of legends? Is that what you're saying?
No, I haven't even gotten to my point yet.
Okay, sorry.
So Julius Caesar also declared himself through the line of Aeneas and Anchises, who mated with Venus, to be the direct heir to the line of Venus. He had a child with Cleopatra, Caesarion, who was executed at 17. But there's a famous story about Cleopatra that she rolled herself into a rug and smuggled herself into the court of Julius Caesar. In 44 BC, Julius Caesar was trying to get Egypt and Rome to be a single empire. But he was assassinated, as we all know, and Octavian, known as Augustus later, took control and executed Caesarion, planned on parading Cleopatra through the streets, but she took her own life with a asp or a cobra, as we would know.
Sure. So what's your point?
The point is that the only reason or way a king like Herod would have the authority to assassinate the firstborn of every child in his region would be from Rome.
Okay. Why would that be the case?
Because Rome, they're direct.
So wait, whoa. So you said all that. You said all that to say to get to the slaughter of the innocents?
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, okay.
What they were looking for.
So are you saying it's a myth?
No, this is what they were looking for was the true heir of the Julian line.
Oh boy. Is this some sort of like Jesus is some descendant to the true Julian line? You're not going there, are you?
I am going there.
Okay, buddy. I appreciate you, Turk. Thanks for coming. I don't want. I'm sorry. I gotta mute myself. I'm muted. I muted myself because I was laughing so hard. Let me back up. I'm sorry. Sorry. Thanks, guys. Good grief. Okay. Herod was paranoid already. Okay. Matthias Antonigus executed. He saw him as a threat. Antiquities 15, 5 through 10. John Hyrcanus II, an elderly old man, strangled over an alleged plot to have him overthrown. Antiquities 15, 173 through 178. Herod's brother-in-law, who was the high priest. The Jews allegedly liked him better. He thought, oh, he's a threat to the throne. Antiquities 15, 50 through 56. His mother-in-law was executed. Then his second wife, Merame, was killed. And after that, his 3 sons through that marriage were killed. Exposing fraud Christians entered into the studio. Herod killed some Pharisees because they prophesied that his kingdom wouldn't fall to theirs. That's Antiquities 16, 339 through 394, and on it goes. So you can imagine, with prophecies already circulating within his kingdom, it's no wonder he wanted to kill the baby Jesus. I don't think that he's called the King of the Jews, where we get a connection that he's actually related to the Romans. Oh man, what do you do? What do you do with that? What do you even do? Yeah, fun times. I can only go so far with bizarre. And I don't know. All right. Jew has a question. Jew, ask your question.
My question is, so Jesus died and resurrected, and basically when he's resurrected, that means he's living forever now?
Yes.
Okay. So my follow-up question to that is, are all the saints that also resurrected, are they also living
like Matthew saints?
Huh?
Like Matthew saints?
Is that where it is? Yes.
You talking about at the time of the resurrection?
Yeah. I guess the time when he was resurrected, a bunch of saints resurrected.
The text just doesn't say.
It was just a question. That's what I was.
Yeah. No, it's a fair question. The text doesn't say, right?
But my question was: so is Jesus' resurrection the same? Is it the same as the saints resurrecting?
The text just doesn't really say. I mean, I know it's maybe not satisfying, but it just says, "Behold, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth shook, the rock split. The tombs were also open, and many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep were raised. And coming out of the tombs after his resurrection, they went into the holy city and appeared to many." So the text doesn't say, was this like a resuscitation, like Jairus' daughter, or like or like Elijah raising, or was it Elisha? I forget which one.
Yeah.
Raised that the woman's son. It just doesn't really specify specifically. So anything that I could give you is just going to be my own speculation, which isn't
okay.
really helpful.
So I guess when people reference Jesus' resurrection, and they say they have third-party knowledge, how is it? Like, what's the connection between? So attesting to Jesus' resurrection is let's say one thing, and then attesting to the saints' resurrection is another thing. Basically, is what you're saying. It's two different. Is it two different things, or is it? I guess is what as a you're, I guess, Protestant. How do you work with that? Is my question. Is like how do you harmonize Jesus being resurrected forever, and then the saints we don't really know about, or we don't even have third party.
These saints particularly, or just people in the afterlife?
No, I guess when this happened, when Jesus, because I'm just reading what you just wrote. It's basically just saying when he resurrected, all the saints went to I guess, Jerusalem. They walked around Jerusalem, and there's not really anything else written about.
Yeah, it's
that.
short. It's short. It's weird, admittedly.
Okay, and
It doesn't even say how many is many.
yeah, no, correct.
Seems like Matthew's hearing this secondhand. He decided to include it, but he doesn't give us a lot of details about it. And so my reasons for believing this is Matthew shows himself to be a careful historian in other ways. And then second of all, if Jesus was resurrected from the dead and he performed miracles, then something like this isn't really that implausible. I mean,
I don't have a problem with that, but I'm saying your testament of believing Jesus' resurrection is the New Testament itself, the Greek scriptures, correct? No third party outside.
Well, if they believed in the resurrection, they would become Christians.
Mm-hmm. No, but I'm saying, so you believe in the resurrection from the New Testament Greek scriptures itself, not using third party connections about the resurrection, or like about
the resurrection itself. No, but what I would say is that, like, I would look at the Gospels as historical documents and not just like as inspired scripture. And I would say, what kind of authors are they? Are they knowledgeable? Are they close up to the facts? Are they habitually truthful? And if they are, then the testimony that they record would go back to what the original witnesses, the original eyewitnesses claimed. And so we would have to explain, like, were these lies, or were these just things that they could easily be mistaken about, or are they telling the truth? And so I would look for clues within the New Testament, or the Gospels, specifically in Acts, if, those were the kind of authors that they were, or are they the kind of authors that feel free to invent stories out of whole cloth, change the facts, that kind of thing.
Right. Okay. So then
I would just evaluate their testimony in a nutshell.
Cool. No. My question was just like, okay, so this happened, and this is actually like a pretty huge event. Things happened, the resurrection, and then we have more resurrections. And I was just trying to connect to see if you have. So there's no outside source that you can use.
Well, lots of things that we have are in a single source in history. That's just the way history is. Now, when it says in many bodies of the saints, it doesn't say how many. It just says many. What is that? Like, is he talking about hundreds? Is he talking about thousands? Is he talking about a couple dozen?
Yeah, it's called. Yeah, well,
it doesn't specify.
People resurrected, getting people resurrected and walking around in Jerusalem is a big deal.
Well, if these were just saints that were like people who were followers of Jesus and died in the middle of his ministry, and they went and they appeared to like their relatives or friends, like a handful of people, and that kind of like prepared the ground, so to speak, for when they do hear a story about Jesus resurrecting from the dead, that they would believe it. I don't see that as being like particularly so earth-shattering that every historian in the region would have absolutely recorded it, or it just didn't happen. Maybe Josephus heard of it and he's like, I don't believe that, whatever. Like, that's just a legend, and didn't record it. You know what I mean? And so we have one source who I would argue is a pretty good source, and we can verify him in another of other ways, and we could talk about that.
Are you talking about Josephus?
No, I'm talking about Matthew.
Oh, I don't. Yeah. No, that was just literally just my question. I'm not like prodding or anything.
No, you're good. I think you're just being sincere. You're not saying it's not a gotcha question.
No, it's not. I feel you. I just want to know, what do you guys do with this text?
Yeah, it's a weird text. And so what I would do is I would say two things: is that our reasons for trusting this are routed through two things. Again, is Matthew a reliable writer, or is he just like somebody who's prone to making a bunch of goofy stuff up? And then we would also go, okay, is there evidence apart from Matthew or this particular thing, like that Jesus really rose from the dead? And if that's the case, then like what's a handful of other saints? Personally, what people do is they overread this text and they go, whoa, it was like the night of the living dead, you know, and like thousands of people were piling out of the tombs.
It
And,
doesn't
and
say the
yeah,
number.
but it doesn't say that. They're overreading
Right.
it. So it could be a small amount of people that just appeared to a group of Jesus's followers and kind of prepared them for when they do hear the news to like, hey, don't just scoff at it, like maybe believe it. And so, but I don't know. Again, that's my interpretation of it, but it doesn't necessarily make it so. The thing is it's so brief and so vague that there's not much that I make out of it. So
I don't know if you guys, what commentary would you hold that's authoritative on this subject? I don't know if you guys,
commentary. I don't have like a special commentary that I would recommend on it. My friend Lydia McGrew, if you look up like Lydia McGrew, Rising of the
like
Saints,
ancient,
like ancient commentary.
Yeah, like I guess do you know if even the church fathers speak of this?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
I don't know how it works.
I bet they do. I'm sure they do, but off the top of my head, I just don't know what church fathers mention this. I do know that some do because I've looked into this before, but I just don't remember right off the top of my head.
Got it. Okay.
I shared her video in the link of how she is like she's like a philosopher and has written books on the historical reliability of the Gospels. And so if you watch her video, she talks about basically how the skeptical objection is formed against this and her answer. And then she's written books on the reliability of the Gospels. And so like, we don't just say, well, this is inspired and okay, great. No, we would look at reasons why we think the Gospels are reliable historical books. And then if Matthew said it, then we have some reason to think, okay, it's kind of like if you had a friend who they tell you things, a trustworthy friend, and you know them to be somebody who's very knowledgeable. They're not easily duped, and they tell you something. You usually believe it. Well, when they tell you something that's a little on the crazier side, you might be like, huh, that's weird. But you wouldn't just like chuck out the testimony of your friend because they have a proven track record.
Yeah, I think, that's fine. Like, it's still like when Christians talk about the resurrection, I'm like, that's like, as a Jew, that's great. Like we've had other resurrections as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's just like you're saying, so you understand where we're coming at, where we're going, oh, this is a resurrection. To us, it doesn't ring a bell, just like the other saints resurrecting doesn't ring a bell as something,
Yeah. So Jesus, we would say, is resurrected to immortality, like for forever. And so he's the first fruits of like Daniel's resurrection that you accept Daniel, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Yeah. And so, I mean, I would assume, right? He's the first fruits, right? And so it says, but in fact, Christ has been raised from the dead, the first fruits of those who have fallen asleep. And so our belief would be that before there's this general resurrection, there's this one man who is resurrected and defeats death, pays the penalty for our sin and all that other stuff, defeats death. And then he's like the first fruits, the guarantee that we will all be resurrected at the end of time. And so where we would differ, as you as a Jew, is we would say there was a resurrection. It was to immortality, but it was just the Messiah. But then the Messiah's resurrection guarantees all of our resurrection if we put our faith in him.
No. Yeah, we look at this as like Elijah. Like it's Elijah went up.
Yeah. We wouldn't look at it that way. We would look at it as permanent immortality. But we also would say he's God. And so.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but Elijah's up there as well.
Oh, well, yeah, sure. Yeah, he is.
Elijah's up there, still alive.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I don't know, like, did he lose his physical body in the process? I don't know. Is he alive? That's weird. I mean, Enoch too, right? And so, yeah, I don't know really specifically, like, I don't have like major theological problems with that. I don't know.
No, I don't like I said, to us, it doesn't really, resurrections, yes and no, doesn't really, that to us doesn't,
well, it's
like, go on, tell more.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, sure. It's so, well, it's not just the resurrection. It's the fact that it's what preceded the resurrection, right? And so it's what's after, what's coming after, and so it's like it's a number of different events in the timeline, right? It's the crucifixion, it's burial, it's resurrection, it's him being our high priest at the right hand of God. So like in Judaism, like you guys don't have a high priest right now. We would say that we have a high priest who presented one sacrifice for sins forever, who is our high priest who ever lives to make intercession for us, who can't die and committed no sin, even though he experienced life and was tempted in all points as we were. And so we have like a permanent high priest, a permanent sacrifice in the actual Holy of Holies, which would be like in heaven, versus like what Moses created was like just prefigured the true and actual, what it represented, what was in heaven already. And so it's all of it kind of put together. It's not just like resurrection, therefore Christianity is true necessarily. It's like, who did Jesus claim to be? What's the theology behind it afterwards, and all that other kind of stuff? What was the revelation that was given to his apostles, and so on and so forth? Does that make sense a little bit?
Yeah. I've seen it before. All right, cool. At least I'm not like a Canistone minion and come up with weird stuff.
Yeah, no problem. Is there a reason?
Like, boot them all. Boot these guys out of here. They're all too crazy.
Yeah, no, you're good. I have 8 minutes. I'm not saying if you need to go, you can go.
Yeah.
But you
I
can tell
probably
me.
have another question.
Sure, go for it.
But I have to. I have to go. But like I want to ask you about, like, I guess you. So you would classify your Protestant evangelical? I don't know the. Yeah,
I mean,
is that the same thing?
It just depends on who you talk to, man. Yeah, it just depends on who you talk to.
Okay. Then.
Yeah, go ahead. What's your question? Do
you like believe in the third temple, like Ezekiel's stating?
Oh, the third temple. Yeah, no, that is something I need to look into, to be totally honest with you. Okay. Like some of us would hold that as like symbolic. Some of that we will say that like it just depends on like
there's what like literal things that
what your eschatology is. Yeah. So like a pre-millennial person, and I won't even spare you the details of some of the differences there. Some people think that like your dispensationalists and stuff like that, they think that which we're all Zionists, by the way. They all but anyways, they will say that that's going to be like literally fulfilled to some extent. Nobody can say it's 100% literal, because there's some, we think there's some symbolism in there, but some people accept it as like almost wholly symbolic. Some people will say that it's a future thing that will happen. And so, but yeah, there's different views. It's something that I personally would be interested in studying, but I haven't studied it, to be perfectly frank, like deeply yet. But yeah, I think it does, honestly, like to be completely fair, I would say that like it does pose some problems, some interpretational problems, and that's why there's diversity of thought on it, on what we believe about it. And so I think when it comes to stuff like that with Christianity, like any good theory, you're always going to have like anomalous data that you're like, I don't know what to do with this. It doesn't really quite fit with the data, but I got all this other data that points in this direction, and I think this is a very strong theory. But you're going to have like some sort of anomalous thing. And so to me, Ezekiel 40 through 48 right now is kind of like, I don't know quite what to do with this yet. And so I'm going to try to get different commentaries and see what people actually say about it, and just go through the different Christian views within it and see, which one I think fits the best.
I think Christianity doesn't like purport like circumcision, because you guys saying it's about being saved or something like that. I'm like, no, circumcision is just about entering a sign that you're entering in the covenant and you're agreeing to these things. And then in Ezekiel, it literally says that no foreigner uncircumcised in heart and uncircumcised in flesh shall enter my sanctuary. So it's just very interesting to me how the Christians, like you said, it's either poetic or imagery, but then there's like, I'm literally reading Ezekiel and I'm like, how do they come up with this theology when it literally says physical things that
I don't think and even Paul himself didn't just reject circumcision. He said if you're a Jew and you're circumcised, don't make your circumcision uncircumcision. And I think he's referring to like in the time of like Antiochus Epiphanes IV, like some people were literally
against that,
mutilating their members, and to say like, no, we're not circumcised. Please don't kill us. You know what I mean? And Paul is saying if you're a Jew, stay a Jew, and if you're a Gentile, stay a Gentile. You know, you don't have to accept circumcision to be in the new covenant. But yeah, he's just saying remain as you are, right? And so I don't have the exact the right verse in here. I know it's in 1 Corinthians 7. And so I think Paul, like, he lived as a Jew. I mean, it talks about in Acts, like he took a Nazirite vow. He even circumcised Timothy because his mother was Jewish, although his father was a Greek. But he doesn't circumcise Titus because Titus was full on Gentile, right? And so your scriptures do talk about that Jesus, the Messiah, will be the light to all nations, right? And so we would say that like we are put into the covenant, but we don't have to like enter into circumcision or follow like all the kosher dietary laws to necessarily be a part of that as Gentiles. But we don't discourage Jews of saying, hey, like, don't be circumcised, don't keep the kosher laws, don't celebrate, you know, your Sabbaths or your feast days or different things like that. I think Paul himself and the 12 did those things. They just said that like, if you're going to be a Gentile, you can be accepted into the covenant, but you don't have to keep those things in order to be saved, right? Those things don't justify you.
Right. I think it's because like the word, you guys, I think Christians focus on being saved while Jews we just do the commandments to do them to get connected to God.
Sure. What we would say is that you can't, like, nobody has kept the commandments fully. We've all broken the commandments at some point, particularly the moral commandments, like thou shalt not, the Decalogue. Right. And so because of that, we would seek justification in the one who kept those commandments perfectly, and is our high priest and our sacrifice for all eternity.
Right. But we're not like, God knew that we weren't going to keep it perfectly, so he gave us teshuva, a way to return back to him. So, like it says, a righteous person falls 6-7 times, but you have to get back up.
Yeah, no, and we don't disagree with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we would go back to is that we are in Adam, and we want to get out of Adam and into Christ. And so in Adam, what did he do? When he sinned, he brought like death into the world, right? And he brought, we all were in Adam, because just like it talks about Levi meeting, and this is in the book of Hebrews, where Abraham tithed unto Melchizedek, right? But technically Levi was there in the sense that he was in Abraham, right? And so we all were in Adam. And so in Adam, we all died, because what did God say? He says, when eating of the fruit of the tree of good and evil, you will die, right? And it actually literally says, I believe in the Hebrew, and you can correct me, in dying, you will die.
Yes,
so we believe that
twice. It's more like it's like an emphasis on the word, like you will die.
Yeah. We would believe that in dying we die. We experience physical death, but physical death is a result of spiritual death. And so, and of course, Paul was a Pharisee, and the disciples were all Jews. So I believe they're getting this concept from the Jewish scriptures. And so we die in Adam, who failed, who basically broke kind of like a first covenant, if you will, that first command with God. He turned away. And so we all kind of follow after that. And so the reason we need to get out of Adam, and that's why we talk about be born again, right? I believe that in Adam we die, and like Ezekiel talks about in 36, where it says that we because of we die, we have a stony heart. and that God has to give us a heart of flesh, a soft heart, and he puts his spirit within us, right? So that's what we believe the new covenant is his spirit comes to live in us, and we walk in him and we obey him. And that is basically Christ in us, that we get out of Adam and then we go into Christ and we're born again, and his spirit lives on the inside of us, and then that causes us to walk in the moral aspects of the law. And so Paul talks about the fruit of the spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, humility, faith, faithfulness. Against such there is no law. And he says, if you walk in the spirit, you will fulfill the law. So we obey. He still is, like I said, I don't think Paul has a problem with Jews keeping, circumcision and the feast and observing the Sabbath or anything else like that. But he's saying really none of that ultimately matters, because your disobedience basically turns you into uncircumcision. It's walking in the commandments, and that you can't, because you're dead in sins and trespasses in Adam. You must be born again. You must be put into Christ, and he will put that new heart in you. He will put his spirit in you. And then by nature, you will walk out the virtues of the law if you actually choose to follow the spirit, but you have that power within you to follow now. Does that kind of make sense, at least of the Christian concept of salvation as we understand it?
Yeah, that's totally way out. Like for us, we're like, this is we're much simpler. We're much simpler. Interesting.
Well, simple is helpful for some theories, but you know what I mean? Like I could say like atheism is simpler in one sense, because like,
no, I think atheism is extremely hard, because you're seeing all these things and you're like, oh, we came from monkeys.
Sure. Well, what I mean, some people will say atheism is simpler because it's like it doesn't posit God, it doesn't posit angels, it doesn't posit demons, it doesn't posit revelation and all these things, and so it doesn't posit any of that stuff. And so they're simpler. But you're right to say that there's other things that it doesn't explain. And so like when you say Judaism that's simpler, I would say like simple is kind of good for a hypothesis, right? Muslims say Tawheed is simple. It's way simpler, right? And yet they have all these other data points that like they do a bad job explaining. You know what I'm saying? And so I would say you have to explain all of the data. So it all kind of comes back to, who is Jesus? And was he the Messiah, or was he a false Messiah? And who did he really claim to be? And is there good historical evidence for Jesus? And so, but to me, I mean, this makes sense, right? One of the things that drew me to Christianity is looking at the nature of human beings and how they are. It does make sense that Christian theology, what the Christian theology teaches about man, that we're dead in our sins and our trespasses, that we're born in Adam and we're fallen, and that we have a nature within us that makes it difficult to keep God's commandments, and that without God's salvation, we are helpless in ourselves. But if he enters into the world and experiences all the temptations as we do, yet is without sin, and pays for the penalty of our sin, because you guys do have the concept of atonement in your religion. It is definitely baked in with the sacrifices.
Yes, sacrifices either from giving charity or giving flour, or so it's not always blood.
Sure, but blood was an important part of it. I mean,
right?
The Day of Atonement was.
Yes, that was a communal thing. Let's say, and also, basically, if I punched you in the face, there's nothing I can do, buddy, to take that away. Except my main point to you would be like, either paying for the damages that I did to you, because I sinned against you, I hurt you. So that's like, how do I atone to God that I did something? The first thing is I have to take care of you, and you understand, and you hopefully you would say, I accept your apology, please don't do that again. And my not punching you in the face would be me saying, I have now learned my lesson, I will not punch you in the face. And now
Yeah,
we're good.
right. I mean, I see that, and I think that when, like, say, a person who's offering their sacrifice for sin sees that, and they see that, like, their sin is being transferred to this animal or whatever, however, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. They're seeing, like, oh, this is severe, and
Yeah,
this is
so,
bad.
like,
This, right?
Yes, no, I totally agree. So it even says, even from our prophets, I'm like, hey, if you offer these sacrifices and you think that's gonna wipe it away, that's not how it works, buddy. Like,
Right.
the action, it's actually the action inside. Obviously, I think you would agree. The action inside of you has to come first for that to be accepted.
Seeing them experience the animal supposedly, like, take your place, that should say, you shouldn't look at it and go, this is just frivolous, and this is like whatever. Correct. You're saying this animal is suffering on my behalf. I don't want to continue to live this and make. And
also another form is, right, it's like a monetary thing where it actually really hurts.
Sure.
Because back in the day, those those animals were very expensive.
Sure. And what we're saying is that the blood, and you'd probably agree, of, like, bulls and goats and calves and different things like that, that's not ultimately going to take away sin. And so that never was the important part. Right. So we would say that only God would take away sin, and that we would say that he becomes man, and that we all have, like sheep, have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way, and the Lord has laid the iniquity of us all upon him. And that's obviously Isaiah 53:6, which we would interpret as Yeshua. I don't know if you interpret that as Israel or what, but yes. Yeah, I would feel free to come back. I unfortunately have to go to work soon here. Right. No. But I would love to have that discussion. I'm not a debater. No, it's okay. It's a good. Yeah. That's what makes this great, right? I'm just having a conversation. I'm just here to ask questions. Like we all have our views. Sure. Yeah, and so to me, there's reasons why. I'll leave you with this. I'll put it this way. And so there's reasons why I would not accept this as Israel, and I would say that it points to Messiah. And so if you feel free to come back, and we can have that conversation if you want to, just to understand our view, because you're just trying to understand, and that's awesome. I'm also going to put in the live chat. Actually, you sent me I'll put it in the live chat. An article by a friend of mine, Jonathan McClatchy, where he goes into Isaiah 53. So give that a read, and see what you think about that. And at least you can understand the Christian perspective. And if you want to send me an article, from your side, I'd be happy to read it. I'll send you an article of he's not a rabbi. So there, okay. I guess a lot of things are, he's a rabbi, he has his point of view. I'm like, no, I'm going to send you. Don't Tovia me, bro. That's all I ask. I'm just kidding. That's fine. No. So I always say Tovia's great if you want to do baby steps, but I have people who get in the weeds. Sure. Big I like the weeds. Yeah. I live in long the weeds, like 50 pages. Weeds. That's fine. Yeah, no, that's fine. The article I sent you right now is fairly lengthy. I think it's like 20 pages worth of stuff. Do I post it on here? I have to find it. I don't know. Let me send it to you in the private chat real quick. Okay. Feel free to give it an open. Let me know when you've opened it on your device, and then that way you have it. Hold on. Can you boot your Candace Owen minions? Man, I would love to boot the Candace minions. Yeah, that's all you got beforehand, really? Too. Oh no. Hey, Candace people. You're weird. That was all me. You're weird. It was the other guy talking about some weird thing, and then another guy, I'm like, oh man, you got the crazies. Well, it's the internet. The crazies come out. So give that article read. I appreciate talking to you. Like I said, I do gotta head out. I have a work, and I got to get ready for that. And so, but I enjoyed just you asking questions, and it's good to understand each other, right? Because when we stop talking, we turn into Candace minions, right? I agree. We don't want to do that. No. We don't want to do that. Or Tovia minions. There are a few of those. I kind of like Tovia in some ways. I just wish he understood our side a little better and represented it a little better. But anyways, we don't have to get into that. So thanks so much for coming up, bro. All right, take care. Bye. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the show. I had some interesting guests. Thanks for everybody who came up. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. I forgot to say earlier, but hit the like button. And for those who are backstage waiting, I'm so sorry I didn't have the time to get to you. I really do have to go to work. I do these Tuesdays and Fridays at 10 o'clock, so feel free to come back anytime. I may even begin to do these a little bit more often. I'd like to post some of the clips of some of the better conversations in the future, so look to that. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't already. It does push this out in the algorithm and all that stuff. And yeah, I will see you guys on the next one. In the meantime, stay giggity gangsta.